Now that we've known a little of what strings and variables is all about, we'll jump into something new, and here we're going to be talking about numbers. So I'm just going to delete all of this, do a save as, and call this one numbers. Okay, so here we're going to change this one too to numbers, and we're just going to assign some little numbers to variables. Okay, so let's say var1 is equal to 3 and var2 is equal to, let's call this var2, let's say this is var1, and this is equal to 4. Okay, for instance, now we're going to try to echo some basic arithmetic operations here. So let's just see basic. PHP. Now let's echo a little math here. Let's say let's say 1 plus 2 plus var1 times var2 divided by 2 minus 5, for instance. Okay, so I'm just gonna put my semicolon there to break it, and I'm gonna add a break tag right here so that when we do something else it takes us to the next line. Okay, so I'm gonna save this and see what it gives us in our browser. Refresh that. Let's look at where we're doing something wrongly. Okay, let's check that pretty quickly. Okay, we did not add our $sign here, sorry about that. So I'm gonna save that and do a refresh. Very good. Now our answer is now this is basic mathematics, so it's very obvious that in PHP you can perform basic arithmetical operations, and that is not just only the thing that it can do. You can do other things, and let's try to see some of the things that we can do using numbers in PHP. So I'm gonna move to a next line, and we're gonna talk about how to concatenate. Now we looked at concatenation using trying to update a third string from concatenating the second string and updating it to give you a third string when we're treating a concatenation back in a couple of videos. So we're going to check that out with numbers, how it works out with numbers. Now we're going to increase or try to add, subtract, divide, or multiply a particular variable by a particular number. Okay, and we're going to increase it or decrease it by a particular amount. Now let's get into the doing, so we'll get to understand what I'm talking about. So that's PHP, and here let's say variable, let's update variable 1, and let's say variable 1 is plus or equal to 4. Okay, now let's echo that back to get the result. Now var1. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this, paste it a couple of times so we can get for divide. Okay, let's say this is for minus, this is for multiplication, and this is for division, and let's put a break tag here so we'll get the results separately. So here and here. So now let's do a Control S and see what we're going to get in our browser. Okay, so let's refresh that, and you discover that when you take your variable 1, which is 3, add 4 to it, you get 7. So now let's quickly look at one other thing. It's called decrementing and incrementing. If you go with C++, then you're probably going to be familiar with this one here. So this one increments. Now let's say var2, for instance, and we increment it by, we'll say plus plus. Now what that means is take the variable 2, which is 4, and increment it by 1, that is add 1 to it. Okay, now let's echo that and see what we'll get. Now echo var2, right, echo var2, and let's do the same thing this time. Let's decrementing. Now let's put that, and instead of plus plus, let's put minus minus. Okay, got a BR tags there, BR. Let's save that and refresh. Now you discover that when you add 1 to 5, you get 4, and when you subtract 1, you get that. Now for those of you who might not understand what we just did with from the first side here, now let me put some PHP code so that we're going to understand what I'm saying in particular. Now let's say this is addition. Okay, now let's save that and refresh. Let's see what we're going to get. Now very good. Now when you pick the value 4, I'm just gonna split the screen into 2 so that you get to understand what I'm saying. Now from our basic mathematics here, I'll add a BR tag so that it will still move it downwards. I want to explain something for those of you who might be confused. I'll refresh that, and then I'll still add a BR tag right here so it will push it down. I'm still gonna refresh that right here in my browser. Okay, so now the basic arithmetic was 7. Now I believe all of you understood how that one was gotten. Now in the addition section, we took the variable 1, which is 3, and added 4 to it. Okay, and it gave us 7. Now that 7 became the new variable, or the new value of the variable 1. Okay, now when you take 7 and subtract 4 from it, you get what? 3, which is the subtraction here. Okay, now when you take 3 and multiply by 4, you gave you what? 12. Now the new value for variable 1 becomes what? 12. Okay, so when you divide 12 by 4, you get what? 3. Okay, so don't be confused in any way. That is how it works. Okay, so that is the basic things. Now in the next video, we're going to look at floating numbers or float numbers. However, those numbers with decimal points. Now the numbers we worked with here are called integers. Now in the next video, we're going to be talking about decimal numbers that are called floats. Till then, see you in the next video.